Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin Edition. I do not actually have a better spell to use, oh well. I have concluded that Faith has been nerfed into the ground by the developers of this game, so I'm not going to be using Faith anymore. For the moment, I should still be okay, but I will respec it reasonably quickly. One good thing is I did finally get a sea bow from the guys in No Man's Wharf. I haven't really finished the area yet by any stretch of the imagination really, but well, I'm getting there. I think the first one or two enemies have stopped spawning again, but I felt like just continuing on. So let's talk to this lady who is going to betray us.
Just speak up if you're in need of miracles. That's why I'm here, after all.
So she can move the path for us. The problem is, she tells us that this is because she has some sort of miraculous power, but actually she just happens to have the key that activates this contraption here. The problem is,
Go ahead.
we would have to kill her to get it otherwise.
Power of offer your souls to the gods.
And that would be a sin. So the game would kind of not... It would... I guess the game would give us a light slap in the face for killing her. It would be moderately evil, I guess. And she's not a pushover. She is supposedly one of the tougher characters to kill. I've never tried. But yeah, you just have to pay her those 2,000 souls. You're not going to see those again. I find that was a really just a poor design decision. I could understand if they'd made it so that you can somehow find the thing that she uses to cheat you, basically. Maybe you could find another one of those keys in a well-hidden chest somewhere to reward exploration, but you don't. This guy here is not going to want to talk to me.
I don't know who you are, but leave me be. The frailty of the weak disrupts the dark. Leave me alone. I'm interested in one thing, dark. You haven't the gift.
So yeah, I think that's all he says. Yeah. This is the area you might possibly remember from the network tests, the kind of early... I don't know, I guess it was an open beta of the game. I mean, they called it network test, but yeah. That's the area you were in, but for that network test they actually moved the merchant lady, the merchant hag Melentia, something? Anyway, they moved her to here so you could buy some stuff, but in the final release of the game she's actually elsewhere. These guys here, you should kill them. Otherwise, I think if you move a certain ways into this cave, they will suddenly become hostile and attack you. For no good reason. Oh. And they are well camouflaged in here. Okay. So this poison fog thing basically poisons you. So why don't I shoot that butterfly? Won't be able to get the item drop, but that's fine. The butterfly is what causes the poison, so... Again, kill these guys. I'm not sure if all of them get back up, but some of them do. And you do feel a bit bad for them because they're prisoners and kind of helpless and they're just lying on the ground. But the game really exploits that, because if you actually if you actually show them mercy and leave them alive, they will just stab you in the back. Something very similar happened in Demon Souls, where if you were in the prison section of the Tower of Latria and you saved the guys, basically got them out of prison, some of them would be a nuisance and just kind of... Some of them would not actively be dangerous, but they would be a bit of a pain. And some of them would actively start attacking you. Well, hey. Okay, let's go for this archer guy first. Anyone coming up from behind? Yes, of course. Could not have it any other way. That guy survived with about 1 HP, I think. This guy is hanging off the edge here, by the way. So keep that in mind. The game does that quite a bit, where it tries to fool you into thinking an area is cleared when it's actually not. Do I have? I don't have any more flame butterflies. I could have, I just didn't get any more. Probably missed some treasures. But then this is not meant to be a 100% playthrough in any way. Okay, so after you've hopped down here, the only way out is using this ladder. And up here you're going to be ambushed again. As it does so often, the game throws multiple enemies at you. Okay. I don't want to sound all whiny and complainy, but they really didn't think that through, because the combat system just isn't made for that. Stuff like the locking on feature really kind of excels when you only have one enemy to deal with. Anyway. See? Prisoner guy. Must have walked past him somewhere. Now he's coming up to attack me. And behind this corner there's someone. I would say it's a nasty trap, but really at this point you should not expect anything less from a game like this. The item over there, I think you can jump to it, but I believe it's a difficult jump. And it doesn't actually get you anything. That's a token of fidelity. It's useful-ish if you're playing entirely offline, because that item would allow you to fulfill the requirement to join the Blue Sentinels Covenant, I believe. And the reason you would want to do that in offline mode is because it unlocks a merchant who will be able to sell you bolt stones so you can upgrade your weapons as lightning weapons. And I think it's possible to jump there from up above where I was just now, but there's an easier way to get to it that I'll show you by jumping down off that bridge right above us. Really be careful here. This guy will hop down, and I can do that without losing health, so let's do that. Well, if I have to try 12 times or more, or maybe 10 times, I don't know. Eventually he'll stop respawning. I sadly still don't quite know 100% if it's 10 or 12 respawns per enemy. It might be different from enemy to enemy, or from area to area rather. I find that it's usually consistent within an area. But yeah, I don't exactly know if it's usually 10 or 12 respawns until an enemy stops coming back. However many it is, eventually most enemies will stop spawning. There's some exceptions though. Some of those exceptions exist for gameplay reasons, some of them, I guess... Well, one of the gameplay reason ones is there's certain locations where you need enemy soul drops. Also nice backstab. So basically there's certain doors, and they will only open if you kill an enemy kind of close to them. Ah, there's the butterfly. I don't know, I guess maybe it's more of a moth than a butterfly. Poison moss, nice. And you, can we get you down? We probably can. Come on. Stop being tedious. Thank you. And there are two bosses in this area. One of them... can I get that butterfly? Just want to check. Yes, I can. Very nice. Because we will be attacked by an NPC as soon as I enter this section. Or not. Okay, there it goes. Forlorn. Ow. I totally did not get hit by that. Come on. Do something. Ouch. Can't recall giving you permission to do that. There's two bosses in this area. One of them, I guess spoiler alert, but I'm not attempting to keep this spoiler free. One of them is the Executioner's Chariot, and that one's, I guess, optional. Really, I'm just fishing for backstabs here. Alright, I guess I could just unlock him for a while. And the other are the Skeleton Lords. You do need to kill the Skeleton Lords, but that fight has actually been made easier in Scholar of the First Sin. Which, I don't know why they made some fights harder and some fights easier. It seems very inconsistent. And there we go, Forlorn's defeated. You can eventually buy his armor if you defeat him often enough. I think every time you defeat him, you get access to one more of its armor pieces, and he spawns in various locations. He will just attack you from time to time, from place to place. And I think this is another trap, right? Pretty sure. Since I try to pick this up, someone will drop down? No? Fair enough, fair enough. And we could summon Bashful Ray here, but only as a shade. You can see the symbol is kind of small. Summoning a shade has a time limit, but you can do it even after having defeated the area boss. The alternative is summoning a phantom, and you can summon phantoms only if you have not yet defeated the area boss. But phantoms have infinite duration, I guess. So they'll stick with you until the boss has been defeated or until either of you dies. This one's the trap, yeah. See that guy up there? He is meant to drop down on you when you enter this and pull the lever. And that's kind of the style of trap I like in Dark Souls. Because you can see it in advance, and if you're careful, you can really completely bypass the trap and really do things on your own terms. So you can do what I just did and use ranged attacks to basically pull the guy, so he does not drop down from behind you and attacks you while you're still in the lever pulling animation, for example. And those are the kinds of trap I like. You are able to spot it in advance without too much trouble, especially since they've already done this kind of trap in this area, so you know to pay attention to that sort of thing. And you're able to, by knowing it's there, you're also able to bypass the entire gimmick of it. And I don't know why they put this thing here, but it runs really fast. And right down here is where we're going to drop down. And raise our shields instantly, but still get attacked. Oh well, take a backstab then. You might recognize this guy. We have killed, I think, at least one of them before. And these guys have been placed into Scholar of the First Sin in certain locations, always guarding a chest. Well, 5 chests have been put in the game which contain the Sublime Bone Dust, which you need to up your Estus Flask. Make it stronger, not make it more, basically. And each of those 5 chests is guarded by one of those guys. They also spawn elsewhere. I may have been a bit unclear on that. They're just kind of guardians, I guess. They used to be Knights of the King or something. But yeah, they do spawn in various locations, not only guarding those chests. I did not mean to imply that, but these chests are always guarded by them. And in here is a bonfire that we cannot get to yet. I guess we can go in here and see if we can't handle what this place throws at us. It does do curse jars and infinitely reviving skeletons. They're very much reminiscent of the skeletons in the catacombs in Dark Souls 1. Even down to the necromancers or wizards, whatever you want to call them, that you do need to kill to make them stop respawning. So basically, since I killed that guy, which you should prioritize him, I can now kill these skeletons for good. And also, just like in the catacombs, the skeleton masters do not respawn. So, having killed him once, I'm done with that bit. We can't go through there yet. We need to get there from the other side. I should really have spent some more money on life gems. Oh well, or some more souls, whatever. Souls are money in this game, let's face it. Okay, you can attack and then bounce off my shield. We have, well, the designers have not given enemies just normal attacks. They almost always have combos. And those combos go from fairly simple 3-hit combos to 5-6-hit combos, commonly enough. It's just, the reason I complain about that so much is that Dark Souls 1 felt really fair. It gave you tough challenges, but never did you feel like they were meant to kill you, or I guess there wasn't never a situation where it seemed like the game just wanted you to die. It always gave you a difficult challenge, definitely, but it always seemed like, okay, if you're playing well enough, then you're going to survive. And those are homing spells, but they fly really slowly, so usually easy to avoid. And that's the second of these necromancer guys, which you can kill him with ranged attacks. It's just a bit difficult. because he will eventually, well, run away, I guess. He will retreat into that cave entrance and he'll be a bit more difficult to get to. I'm not sure, I didn't quite go through what the area bosses do and are. That's the Skeleton Lord boss fight, by the way, behind that. We don't I don't know, we don't really need to do the Executioner's Chariot fight, but then I feel like if I completely leave out a boss fight, that'll be a bit disappointing for you. Because I suspect you'll want to see at least most of them. There's a few optional fights that I'm not convinced I'll want to do. There's an optional boss called the Dark Lurker. And to fight him you need to do 3 tedious dungeons, and then he'll spawn at the end of that dungeon, and it's just a bit of a pain. Okay, you there. Come at me, bro. The reason I killed him with ranged is because I already came too close. Okay. The reason you should kill him with ranged, but from further away than I did, is that there's a crystal lizard here, and if you kill him from ranged, you could get that on the first try. But this is the other cave in which there were skeletons and necromancers, or one necromancer, you might remember. So that's a shortcut we've just opened, which is kind of convenient. And once more I rudely interrupted myself. The point was, Dark Souls 2 has much more sections where it feels like the game just wanted you to die in those sections. You weren't really meant to survive, or at least the first time through, those things were meant to kill you. It's very common that you get assaulted by dozens of enemies at once. Well, maybe not dozens, but... well. I guess the most numerous enemy assault I've ever seen in Souls games has actually been in Dark Souls 1 with the Hollow Room before the Gargoyles. But it feels like in Dark Souls 1 it was always used as a kind of gimmick in very select sections. And you were swarmed by enemies, except for a few exceptions, pretty much only when you yourself pulled too many. And they would usually be very weak enemies. These running guys, they do drop some stuff, but mostly they're just annoying by running away. And they're difficult to catch without ranged attacks. They even run fast enough to avoid some ranged attacks. And it just looks kind of silly, because they really just sped up normal running animation of normal enemies. And that doesn't really look very sprinty. There's a section that does that worse though. Okay, this NPC is not actually that difficult, but she does use a scythe. I think that's a bone scythe. And scythes are impossible to block at certain distances. Okay, but as I said, not a very difficult one. I don't know if she can drop anything interesting. You always get a human effigy from killing NPCs. NPC phantoms, rather. I think you also always get one for killing human invaders, but... let's not go into that. And this is the key we were looking for, which unlocks the bonfire, which is has been my goal for this episode. And if we go down here, we'll basically reach... that's the big waterfall we went past. That's the cave with that the necromancer guy was in. So that would lead us to the Skeleton Lords fight, which we do need to do. Skeleton Lords are not optional. I guess it's possible to skip them in early versions of the game by using glitches, because there are versions of the game that allow you to completely walk out of bounds, and out of bounds, not out of bounds. You know, bouncing. Not that kind of bounce, just out of bounds. Wow. I find it difficult to distinguish between those two words, or to make it clear in my spoken language, the difference, basically. Anyway, open this up. Light the bonfire and speak to this guy.
Who are you? I thought you were that bastard for a moment. You've set me free. Now I can find him. The cheeky prick. He won't know what hit him.
Okay.
I am Creighton of Mirror. I travel from land to land to hone my blade. I've heard this land was full of danger. I thought it would suit me perfectly. I joined forces with a man on the way, but he was no more than a backstabbing knave. He took the first chance he had to try and off me. I decided to set a trap for him here. But then I got trapped myself. I can't believe that I was so dense. Thank the stars that you came along. You be careful of him. Pate, I think he said. He wears this rather unusual ring. You know it when you see it. I've seen his type before. He kills entirely for the pleasure of it. I'm sure I won't be his last victim. The man's better off dead. I tell ya. He's a slick talker, so don't let him fool ya.
So, Pate, we've met him in the Forest of Fallen Giants. He's supposed to be a reference to Patches the Hyena from earlier Souls games. The problem is, I think they didn't quite do a very good job of that. Or they've changed his MO slightly. Well, firstly, he said he kills for pleasure. That's not true. Pate always kills for profit. Patches, rather. They're meant to be references, okay? So Patches would always... It's kind of become a trope with him. He would stand before some sort of pit and he'd tell you, there's treasure down there, just have a look. And when you go to look, he kicks you down and then says, like, oh, you'll die down there and then I'll grab all your stuff. That was Patches. I know he was in Demon Souls, he was in Dark Souls 1, and he was also in, I think, some of the Kingsfield games, which were the, I guess, the games before Demon Souls. They were kind of similar. But they really haven't aged well. Their graphics are difficult to endure these days. But yeah, Patches would always... He would become active. In Dark Souls 1, for example, there would be another section where you would meet him, talk to him, and then he would be standing next to a lever, and you'd activate... lever button, something along those lines. Anyway, you'd activate it to be able to cross a bridge. And when you were about halfway across, he would activate it again to make you fall down. So he would actually be doing something to try and kill you, but it would be a cowardly way of attempting to kill you. And I think he's in Bloodborne as well, but in Bloodborne he's got the body of a spider because we need to be weird in Bloodborne. Anyway, so he would himself try to murder you. And in this game, it seems like the one time we have met him and kind of walked into his trap, quote unquote, he's trying to let others do the work, which isn't like him. I don't know. I think they didn't quite capture his spirit, though he does have a great voice actor. Anyway, we are going to rest here. And we're actually going to travel to Majula. And that's because I now have 16,000 souls, and some of you might already know what that means, or what I'm going to do now. I think I've shown you this NPC at some point before. And that's the Armorsmith Morlin.
Oh, I was hoping that you would come. I've I've stocked some new things, and I thought that you might be interested. I'm surprising even myself.
Okay, sorry, I skipped through a dialogue there. I meant to just skip ahead while he actually was done talking, but he hadn't moved on to the next sentence yet. You can kind of speed up dialogues a little bit that way without actually losing any dialogue. I kind of pressed a bit too late. So I think I bought this Silver Eagle kite shield from him at the very beginning of the game, just to have it. And that cost 1,500 souls. So I'm going to buy another one, which means I've now spent 3,000. And I do need to spend another 13,000, so I'm going to buy this. So that's another 12,000 I need, so I'm just going to buy 3 Elite Knight armors.
Did I mention before that I was on a journey? The desolation here was disenchanting at first, but over time, things started to turn my way. Yeah, I've got a good few regulars now. They're all strangely desperate and quite willing to pay a premium. Sadly, some of them never come back, but I try not to think about it. Have you seen that warrior lugging that giant blue sword about? I'm no expert, but that appears to be a fine specimen. The monstrous thing has a peculiar design, quite unlike anything found in Volgan. If you should speak to him, would you ask him if he won't sell it? I'd have to take another look, but I'm confident I could offer quite a price.
Again, I'm sorry, I have this habit in this game of skipping through dialogue, because the NPCs talk for quite a long time. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. I guess it helps with character development. Well, helping the NPCs develop a character and just getting a bit of story across. But I think some NPCs just have a bit too much dialogue. Anyway, let's see if he still speaks new lines.
I considered returning to my homeland, but I've decided to stay a while longer. I've started to turn a handsome profit now, and I can't bear to give it up. I considered returning.
Okay. So I've now spent 16,000 souls, and I have 31 human effigies. That is fine. So let's suicide. Whee! You need a special... Well, you need equipment that lowers fall damage to survive this fall. There's multiple options for that. I haven't got any at the moment. And that was a completely intentional death, obviously. Reason why I have now 0 souls. And I think that should trigger something from him. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm not picking up my souls just yet. But there's no danger of me losing them unless I am entirely moronic. So now he's sitting there kind of laid back and lazy and, you know, proud of himself. Because we've spent 16,000 souls. That's kind of the second level of unlocking new stuff with him. I think the first thing you unlock if you spend more than 1,000 souls. Then he kind of stocks up some new items. And then if you spend more than 16,000, he stocks up again.
Sorry, have we met? Care to look over my wares? Please, be my guest.
So he's...
I've upgraded my stock recently, although it may be a bit out of your reach.
He's become quite arrogant, basically.
In a spot of bother, are we? Here, take this. My compliments.
Okay. And that's what I wanted. This is not the armor set I wanted, I just wanted to show you this. If you have spent...
Well, I may sell out while you're away.
If you have spent more than 16,000 souls with him, or exactly 16,000 will also work. It doesn't have to be more, it has to be equal or more. And you then... You then speak to him while having 0 souls. Then he will give you that set, and I'll just put it on quickly to show you. I'm not a fan of it, I don't actually like the way it looks, that's kind of... What were they thinking? It's a transparent armor set. I don't know, maybe this is meant to be a PvP thing, where at first glance it might appear that you're not actually wearing any armor at all. Not sure. There is a version of this armor that's not transparent, but you can only... Well, I'm not sure if you can only get it in New Game Plus, but you do get it in New Game Plus. Well, you can also use a bonfire aesthetic. No, did not want brigand trousers. Which trousers did I have? Oh, let's just... Pish.
Looking for armor? Everything I offer is quite dependable.
I won't do a boss this episode, by the way. I just wanted to get some NPC stuff out of the way. And now that we have done this, he will sell a really nice armor set called the Alva armor. It's not very heavy, but I quite like it. I like the looks of it. And it will cost me 21,100 souls. Do I have enough? I should have enough. I do usually like to hang on to these kind of usable souls until I actually need them. But I have often found myself in Dark Souls 1 standing before the final boss of the game and having dozens of these in my inventory. So in this game I've decided I'm just going to pop them whenever. And I'm going to pop all of them at this point. Even though that's more than I technically need. Now I could also use some of these souls here, these boss souls. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I have actually checked, and you need at least 4 intelligence, so that the Strait of Ophalis or Olaphis, one of those two, will talk to you, and he will make your boss weapons. So he will be able to convert these boss souls, these special souls, into weapons for us. But you need to have a certain amount of intelligence, which not every character has by default. And I do not, for the life of me, know why they made that asinine decision. It means you are forced to make a stat investment into intelligence, no matter what kind of character you're playing, if you want those weapons. Unless you get someone else to make the weapon for you and then drop it for you in online mode. But that doesn't count, obviously. And I don't know why. Not all of the weapons that he makes are intelligence-based. I could kind of see the point if all he sold were spells and, say, intelligence weapons. That would then make sense, because having low intelligence you would not be able to make much sense of them, and, you know, if he only sells mage stuff you might think stupid people are below him. That kind of works. But he creates weapons that are entirely strength-based, entirely dexterity-based. He sells faith-based weapons, because he converts a bunch of boss souls into boss weapons, and there's all sorts of variety among those.
Looking for armor?
So I don't know why they force you... No. I only want one of those. Thank you. And there we go.
Thanks for the purchase. Do come again.
So it's a bit heavier than the armor I'm currently wearing, but I just think it looks a lot better. And I should still be reasonably quick. Yeah, 43.2% encumbrance is not too bad. And I just like the looks of this set. I'm not going to be using a helmet. I don't know, I do like this haircut. And yeah, I know people keep going on about, yeah, you're a guy playing a female character. Yes, I am. What's your point? And again, I spam too much. For all those who are not interested in random NPC interactions and all that, I'm not going to be doing anything interesting in this episode anymore. Just trying to get some tedious stuff out of the way. So if you're not interested in talking and purchasing and all that stuff, I hope you enjoyed the video anyway, and yeah, tune in again next time when we will be tackling at least one of those bosses from that other area.
You again?
Yes, me again.
My name is a stranger to this land.
Apparently.
Strangers these days, everybody's gone and run off. Dranglake's been a pile of rubble since the war fought long, long ago. When the giants crossed the sea.
Apparently I didn't do this the first time we met her, but I'm going to exhaust her dialogue now because she will eventually move to Majula, and I want that because then I don't have to teleport here to buy her stuff. And it also makes her chain, well, right now, oh dear, I do need those bright bugs. I will need to farm some souls. And she also sells some radiant life gems, but she is out of life gems, and once she's moved to Majula, she will sell infinite small life gems.
Seemed like the battles would never end. Poor folk like myself have nary a place to sleep. That's why I keep all me things right with me. You may travel light, but methinks you bear a burden of your own. They say these trees grew from the remains of the giants. From each carcass sprouted new life growing into what you see now. But you know what they also say? Don't believe what an old hag says. It's high time that I pick up a move. I've a bargain for you next time we meet, my lover.
Okay, I think that's the dialogue we were looking for. So let's walk back to Majula. I'm sorry, my nose is a bit stuffy. Hoping that's not too bad in the video. Okay. And there she is. She's now going to sit right here.
Oh, go on. It's on the cheap for you.
Your fingers are very weird. Just saying. And, I don't know, I think she sold these from the very beginning. But as you can see, she's now stocked an infinite number of life gems. So that's nice. And as I said, she stocks bright bugs. I am going to have to farm a bunch of souls before I can buy these. But the point is, I can now, whenever I run really low on life gems, I can go to her and just stock up. And I can also talk to my Emerald Herald lady.
Is that a shark? Here, to see, however...
And upgrade my flask. And finally, I can burn the sublime bone dust I found. And do I have anything else I want to do? I do have some silky smooth stones, but I'm not going to be trading those in yet. I'll wait until I have a bit more. As I said, I do need to farm for the bright bugs. I'll actually, in between episodes, I'll go through these souls here and decide which ones I really want to do something with, actually. Pretty sure I'm not going to be using the Flaxalt Sentry Soul for making a weapon. Rune Sentinels are only used to make a spell, which I have no intention of using. Lost Sinner makes a sword that I don't really want to use. Dragon Rider I'll use for a bow. Pursuer I might use for a greatsword. Last Giant I might use for an axe. I know that much. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I'm not going to be doing any off-screen farming for next one, so I'll just basically dive straight back into it. So I hope you enjoyed, and we'll meet again very soon. Bye bye.